everybody is joining us, and it looks like we've got our guests as well as the folks who are here to ask questions and learn a little bit about what's going on today. My name is Josh Dorell. I'm the CEO of the Wyoming Business Council, and welcome to What's the Point Open Mic Edition. We've been doing these weekly for the last few weeks to really kind of uh, open the doors to the Wyoming Business Council and have everybody kind of be able to take a peek inside at what goes on. Sometimes what we do can be a little challenging to understand, and one of what we wanted to make sure is that people had an opportunity to ask questions, to learn as much as they could, and to really provide any feedback they had around the efforts that we take to really make Wyoming a place where Wyomingites can really kind of fulfill their dreams and find opportunities here in Wyoming and really be a place where, in this case, entrepreneurship can be as effective as it is in other places. Today with us, we've got a number of guests. I'm going to introduce our own Wyoming Business Counsel, Brittnie Faulkner, who handles a lot of our entrepreneurial services. And especially when it comes to our small business innovation research grants and our Kickstarts, which is a super exciting program that was kickstarted back in like 2018. It took a little bit of a break, and then Brittnie brought it back over the last year or so, and it has really taken off. It's just an incredible amount of people and interest in it. And I'll go ahead, Brittnie, if it's all right with you, just run through these house rules, and then I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take off with Zach and Luke. So thanks everybody for joining again. Like the slide says, no questions are off limits. We'll do our best to answer them in this format. However, some take a little bit more research or a little bit more information, and we may have to dig for that and get it back to you. But please feel free to ask anything. We definitely believe that transparency is an important element. We also think that respect is also really important too, and making sure that we ask questions about the program and the facts and the future, not necessarily about the individual person. And as we go through that, we do respect or excuse me, reserve the right to sort of mute and make sure that we keep things as civil and as professional as possible and keep things moving forward. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Brittnie, who has been with the Business Council for a bit now, working on Kickstart and some other things. And Brittnie, take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Josh. So like Josh said, I'm Brittnie Faulkner. I am the Startup Grants Manager with the Business Council. I've been a part of the team not quite 2 years, but in the best way possible. It feels like forever. And I love working with this team. It was a surprise passion of mine, if I'm being honest. A little bit about me. I am a Wyoming native. I grew up in the Bighorn Basin area. I still live up in the Bighorn Basin, except for a small stint down in southern Wyoming in tiny little encampment. I've been up here a majority of my life. And the reason these two grant programs are, like I said, it's a surprise, but they're near and dear to my heart is because I am the person that these grants are trying to keep in the state. I graduated from Meeteetse and left to go to college out of state because this is dating me a little bit, but it was pre-Hawthorne. I was not able to get a scholarship at University of Wyoming, but I was able to get a scholarship out of state. So I went out of state to get my engineering degree. And I had to stay. There were no jobs available for me to come back into the state of Wyoming with until many, many years later. Hence why I'm back. And so the biggest things that we're trying to solve with these grants is developing technical high demand roles within the state with our own grit and our own determination and the brilliant minds of the entrepreneurs that are already here. And it has been quite an honor to see these ideas and these concepts come to life. And I'm so excited to see how these two programs continue to grow and influence the available jobs and the diversity within the state. And so with that, we do have two additional guests, like Josh said. I asked a couple of our Kickstart awardees to join us today. Um, Zach, I'm going to start with you. Do you want to give your a quick intro for yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Zach Racklin. I grew up in Burlington, Vermont. My dad worked for Ben and Jerry's ice cream, so pretty blessed childhood. But yeah, loved the mountains and bopped around after college, but decided I needed to move out to the mountains, the big mountains, before I turned 30. So just made the cut and moved out to Jackson. So I'm here in the Tetons and really loving it. And yeah, I studied mechanical engineering, but moved into software development kind of in my mid 20s. And this idea I'm working on, it's called Ing Outdoors, and it's really kind of trying to wed my two passions, being outdoors in the mountains and doing all sorts of weird multi-day, multi-sport adventures, and trying to build technology that helps make that happen more easily with less friction and help people be more prepared and do things more safely with their friends and family. And yeah, we soft launched on the App Store yesterday, actually. So the app is now officially on the App Store. And yeah, we're just about to kind of start our media, but yeah, just getting going. So, and it's a lot thanks to the support of the Business Council. I was in the first round of the revamp of the Kickstart grant program, and yeah, it's been amazing. So I'm excited to be here.
That's a great update. That was a surprise update, everybody. Even I didn't know that. That's fantastic. Awesome. Luke, why don't we head over to you?
Hi everyone, my name's Luke. I'm the founder of Power Theory. We're down in Southeast Wyoming. We're in Laramie. And what we're trying to do is solve mechanical failures before they happen, while also trying to improve the efficiency of industrial spaces like large manufacturers. And so a little bit about me, I come from a computer engineering background and I'm also into software. So it's kind of funny that Zach and I are both in a similar space. And we leveraged GPUs to try to predict mechanical failures. So we leveraged the Kickstart grant to fund R&D. So we have a ton of developers all working on a pretty cool machine with a ton of GPUs on it and running full blast. I'm using it as a heater, since it's winter finally started. So um, appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about power theory and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I'm so glad these two gentlemen could join us today. Um, and with that, I think if anybody has any questions, we'll just dive right into the question section. Unless, Josh, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, let's see if folks out there listening want to ask any questions of any of us.
This is Kelly, and you know I always have questions. Um, the Kickstart program is really effective and very great. I was wondering if there's an opportunity to increase the number of opportunities for small businesses to receive that funding by either having it more often or increasing the number of award winners per opportunity.
Mhm. Hi, Kelly. I'm so glad you're here. Uh, no, so that is a great point. So, just as a quick background for anybody that may not be as familiar with the Kickstart Grant Program, it is a quarterly competition, and each quarter we award up to three awards, and each award can be up to $50,000. Um, there is also a per company cap award of 70,000. So just because a company wins one award, they could reapply and get additional funding 1 year after their original award date. Um, that's how it's set up today. Going forward, we do have some growth plans. Now that we have relaunched for a year, we're starting to get a lot of data and we're starting to see some gaps that we thought were gaps, but maybe aren't as big. And now we're realizing that some other gaps are presenting themselves a little bit further down the line. And so, to answer your question, Kelly, yes, going forward, we are hopeful that we will get the opportunity to redo some of our rules and legislation to open up this award for additional funding opportunities and even maybe a little bit more diversification across right now it's kind of geared more towards high growth venture backable type businesses. But there is opportunity to also expand it into maybe more small medium enterprise, maybe a little bit of the overlap in between those two. We're not quite sure what that looks like yet, but to answer your question, that is I got a big notebook and Bert loves it when I have all these ideas. So yes, those are on my notebook and hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of this next year with everybody looking at all of our programs and be able to expand up and not redo, improve it, continue to improve it. So that was a great question. Thanks, Kelly.
I guess Charles and I from UW here. Could you give us a little overview on common false steps you see in applying to this? Is there something that you see people do and every time you see it, it causes you to grimace and you wish they did something different or avoided saying something or didn't say something else?
Hi, Charles. That's a fantastic question as well. I love the Kickstart grant program because we play in the gray with it a little bit. And what I mean by that is it's very broad. We accept applications from companies almost at every stage. So pre-launch, launch, like Zach mentioned, he wasn't even launched yet when he applied. He was still trying to figure out what his plan was. Luke was in a slightly different place. Each quarter, we get applications from a huge variety of business stages and business types and industries and needs for the fund. So it's actually I love being able to see all the different companies and what they're putting together. So it's hard to answer your question, but it's also not because you're trying to create a level playing field for companies that aren't level and they're not supposed to be and they're never gonna be, right? So we have developed a score system that it's like Swiss cheese. Like there's holes in some layers and holes in another, but when you stack up all of the scores across all of the judges and all of the phases, everything lines up and it's a solid piece. That being said, the biggest thing that I think people don't pay attention to when they do the initial application is their pitch deck and their pitch video. Lately, each quarter, like we're on quarter number 6, will be this 31st, March 31st. And each quarter we get more applications than the one previous. So last quarter we had 21 applications. The quarter before that we had 18. And so you have to review more and more and more. And I think, putting a lot of effort and attention into your pitch deck, making sure that you're presenting your company well, you're presenting your idea well, and doing it in a way that a panel of people that you probably don't even know can understand and interpret as concisely as possible is probably the biggest misstep that I see.
Hey, Brittany, real quick. We had Sri Nair asked or wanted to ask a question, and then we'll go to PJ, I think, next. So thanks for answering that. Sri, how are you?
Hey, good morning, and thank you. I have been looking at your website, and you have the rules and regulations outlined very clearly. I know we require a pitch deck and a pitch video, but I don't see an application package. I think, do we get it once we log into the site? Because if you want to do everything offline, for example, if you want to write about the team and the project, is there a proposal required, and what are the requirements? Where do I find that?
Yeah, so if you look on our website, there's actually an apply now button that takes you to a form. And that form is the actual application. And once you create your business profile, it'll take you to the application form and it auto saves as you work through the form. And then at the very end or the last page of the form, that's where you would upload insert your link to your video and you would upload the budget request and the employee roster. Those additional uploads are on that very last page. Yep. So it's not an application packet that you would email into me. It is actually an online form that you would fill out.
Thanks, Brittnie.
PJ, I think you were
Thank
next.
you. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Are you seeing entrepreneurs apply more than once? Like, let's say they don't get chosen for quarter 1 and then they apply again. Do you encourage that? Do you offer any feedback to those ones that you deny and say, hey, it opens each quarter and here's, some areas that you might want to review or reach out to somebody like SBDC to help you with that?
Oh, that's a great question, PJ. And I'm going to answer, and then I'm actually going to bring Luke in for this one because he has experience in this question specifically. So, the program itself, yes, we encourage people to apply if they did not get funds originally. So the process is everybody applies, we review everything, and then I have a team of WBC colleagues that evaluate each of the original initial applications, and we down select using those scores to 5, right? So right out of the gate, we're going from 21 to 5, and then those 5 applications, those companies will do a virtual pitch to a team of investors or business council partners or other entrepreneurs throughout the state. And those scores will be used to down select to 3, right? So we're going from 21 to 3. The key thing that I have been trying really hard to do is providing feedback each step of the way. So every comment or like suggestion for improvement or maybe look at this differently gets put into an email and gets sent back to the applicant, and with a huge encouragement to take a look at these things. Let me know if you have questions. We'll hop on a call and work through them if you need help, and then reapply, because we can only do so much with funds, and capital only gets these founders so far, right? A lot of it is about pivoting and potential of the founder, and the founder being able to take that feedback and use it and improve their businesses. And so having that open communication with these companies and then referring them out, like you said, to the SBDC for additional support and development is a critical part of this program. And so like I said, I'm going to have Luke jump in because he actually was a 2-time applicant. Is that correct? Yeah. So Luke, do you mind expanding on that experience a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Yes, so we applied in Q1, and that was before we had been a participant of G Beta Wyoming, before we were a participant of the NSFSN Digital Twins Accelerator program. And I think the idea itself was a little bit dim and blurry, and we needed to go through some coaching to really increase the aperture of the idea and of the business. And once we really nailed the problem and the solution, and there was a really clear problem solution fit, especially with pilot projects, like active pilot projects in the field, and after pivoting to more of a painkiller than a vitamin, I think that strengthened our application so much. And we didn't want to apply back to back, Q1 and then Q2. We needed the time to grow and really refine the idea. And then when we were ready, Q3 is when we applied. And so we were playing to win. We weren't playing to lose. And we knew by Q3 that the idea was really strong. So we were confident to apply again by then. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, PJ. Nick, I think you're next.
Oh, hey there.
Hi.
Hey, just a question about past winners. So is that posted on the website? Like who won out like the first quarter 20, like all like the quarterly winners? Is that posted somewhere?
Yeah, so right now it is on the Kickstart website. If you scroll to the very bottom, we do have it's a little slideshow scrolling bar of the company name, and then also their last 8-minute pitch submission is on that as well. I say that I only add those when they are officially approved by the governor. So again, for those who aren't familiar, the funding for the Kickstart program currently resides in the governor's endow budget. And so the business council, we review everything, we put everything together into a packet. At the end of each quarter, I have to submit that to the governor for his formal approval. So I try not to announce anything until he has given that approval, just so that it doesn't create a lot of chaos with stuff. So on the website, yes, at the bottom are the approved awardees that we've
Yeah.
had so far.
Yeah. So who's the most recent awardee?
So we just got the approval for the Q4 round. So that is Heidi Foy with Bullfrog Recruiting and Pixel Pay. And I wish I could remember the entire team's names. And I can't. I know it's Hannah Michoud is the one that we talk to the most. And then we have Kim Hoyt with Sweet Motivation are the most recent awardees. And their videos will get put up here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So.
Oh, okay. So that was Q4,
Yes,
but they're
the
not
Q
up on the website yet.
correct. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And then we do have our finalists selected from the Q1 round, which just closed. But those are still sitting on the governor's desk waiting for
I see.
his review and approval. So
Okay. So it was like Pixel Pay, Sweet, what?
Sweet Motivation,
Motivation. What was the other one?
Bullfrog Recruiting.
Bullfrog. Okay, cool. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah. Right.
Could you talk a little bit, Brittany, about the success of what we're seeing with past winners, and maybe Luke and Zach, if you can share a little bit about your success post winning and how it's going.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would love to talk about it. So, like Josh briefly mentioned, Kickstart specifically was launched at the same time as our SBIR match program in a joint initiative called Startup Wyoming. And the program ran for about a year and a half, 2 years thereabouts, before we paused it due to COVID and a bunch of other things happening at the same time. Um, so we do have 18 companies that received funding from that initial round before we did the relaunch. The success that we have seen from that first group, so out of the 18, over 50% are still open, which if you compare that to the national average at this point, what we're looking 5 years-ish on. So for over 9 companies to still be open and operational 5 years post-launch is actually beating the national average. I think the national average is 10, if I am remembering right. I can't remember. And more importantly than that, out of those companies, we have had 3 companies go on to large investment rounds from VC groups. So we've had Heirloom, we've had DISA, and then Frontline Wildfire have all gone on to, what was DISA's most recent round? 200 million? It was a significant round.
It was big.
It was a big fundraising round. And they're all still here in the state, which means all of those funds are being funneled into the state. And so we know that the program itself has merit with that. And so now that we've tweaked it a little bit, we revamped the process. We're hoping, no pressure, Zach or Luke, that success continues on. So yeah, Zach, why don't we start with you? Because you were, like you said, one of the first awardees with the relaunch, and then Luke will roll into you in terms of how your companies have been impacted.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I've been bootstrapping, and basically, I just uh, started as the solo software developer and was basically just trying to get to something that I could launch. And this is my first time trying to found something. So learning a lot of skills along the way. And basically learning how much help you need in a kind of operation like this. And really, the Kickstart funds gave me the opportunity to kind of get some outside help. So with my app, there's a lot of data input that I offer people the opportunity to put in with regards to their itineraries and gear, and then more critically, some safety features related to potential medical conditions and being able to share emergency contact information with search and rescue. So yeah, there's some potential privacy concerns, and one of the first things I started using the funds for is retaining Hathaway and Coons in Wyoming, and getting their help to draft up a good terms of service and privacy policy. So that's been really critical, and yeah, that's a lot of money, but hopefully will be worth it as well. And also getting kind of cyber insurance, that sort of stuff. So it's really kind of helped me with the nuts and bolts of making sure I can launch this safely. Um, and yeah, so it's really scary to consider spending my own money, and that's all I had. And so the grant was just really crucial for letting me get to the next step. And yeah, like I said, we just soft launched. So if you search Ing Outdoors on the App Store, it's if you just search Ing, it's buried below that Dutch bank. But but yeah, if you search Ing Outdoors, you should be able to find it.
Luke?
Yeah, we're just about to exit a validation phase, so getting out of the pilot phase and kind of preparing, ramping up for kind of a little bit of a round. And but I would say the Kickstart in particular really helped us get some exposure at some global tech conferences like Tech Connect, and paying for that travel and allowing us to put ourselves in front of potential customers was essential. And that led to getting two of our largest paid pilot projects ever, which amounted to about 45,000. So we've almost been able to recoup the entire grant within a few months and be able to host programmer networking events, meeting other talented programmers in Laramie and Fort Collins. And so we just also brought on two contractors, one being a student from the University of Wyoming, who we hope will be our first hire. And none of that would have been possible without the Kickstart funds. So yeah.
That's awesome. Josh?
Yeah, hey Luke, you mentioned some words that sort of stuck out to me. It sounds like in addition to the funding, that you're taking a pretty disciplined approach to the process of entrepreneurship. I think sometimes we think that's sort of like this mad scientist, do whatever type of thing, but it sounds like you're taking a pretty disciplined approach. So can you tell us a little bit about how you're going about entrepreneurship and you mentioned a phase. And so can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say that we received a lot of mentorship, and we've been introduced to frameworks like the 24 steps, the discipline entrepreneurship framework, and getting that access to mentorship and having the Kickstart has allowed us to utilize the funds in the best way possible. That we realize there are times that we need to pivot, but having that funding and having that mentorship has allowed us to take the best approach that we can, that's measured and not just a guess. And so couldn't be more thankful for access to that funding and then access to the mentorship. And I would say that just the redundancy of programs is a good thing, at least for us. Doing multiple accelerators and getting prepared for when we were pitching in the Kickstart program, that was so useful. Sometimes you just need to hear things twice or hear something one way, change your perspective and hear it again, and then realize what resources or people are tied to those frameworks. And so the ecosystem has helped us, I mean, so much.
Zach, that just made me think, you actually, I introduced myself to you at the Silicon Coular pitch day. Speaking about the ecosystem, do you think that plays into like what you learned in Silicon Coular, how you presented for Kickstart?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's great to have these opportunities to connect with different people. I mean, I had no idea about the Wyoming Business Council, and I just found the opportunity that was closest to me, and that's the pitch day competition here at Jackson. And yeah, I think that group was really focused on kind of I mean, the pitch day is a show and trying to put on a performance, and also entrepreneurs came in giving their feedback about what would be kind of their suggested business model with my idea. I think there's a lot of different directions it can be taken in, maybe with every idea, but going business to consumer versus business to business. And yeah, I think I came in with the pitch day with one sort of perspective and pitched that. And then through participating in G Beta, which I was also linked to through the Silicon Couloir groups, one of the mentors just mentioned that I should apply. That kind of took a different perspective and allowed me to kind of take a step back and think about how did I actually want to build the business versus what maybe just seems really nice to talk about in a pitch competition. And yeah, that kind of brought me back to my roots of like what I got into building the business for in the first place. And so I ended up doing a couple, I guess, directional or order of operation pivots where right now I'm building for individuals, friends and family, taking trips, river trips, hut trips, but with the idea to kind of use that to propel me into the business and outfitter sort of world afterwards. I think I struggled a lot with how do I approach those bigger groups without something to show, and I think this going through these different processes helped me kind of learn, okay, like I need to stick to what I actually feel confident being able to sell the vision of, and hopefully that'll let me get into these other avenues later on. So yeah, a lot of just great different perspectives through, yeah, like Lou said, having the redundancy, and even if you are covering some of the same stuff, you always get a new perspective at it. And yeah.
Josh?
Hey, yeah, Brittnie, if I could ask the folks, Zach and Luke, to answer this, it's a little uh maybe it's a little less about the program and more about the feelings you have in becoming an entrepreneur. I'm really interested in, and I realize I'm talking to two engineers, so feelings are probably not that comfortable, especially in a public setting, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Um, I want you to talk a little bit about the decision to become an entrepreneur versus taking sort of a different, a more like corporate route. Clearly, you're both very talented and could probably pick up a job just about anywhere. So what was it that made you want to become an entrepreneur? And I'll start with you, Luke. Or Zach went off mute first, so he's going to win.
I was
Okay,
going to
here
say
we
Luke
go.
could go first, but I can go ahead. Um, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think probably Luke can resonate very much an emotional roller coaster and a big up and downs in terms of feeling the hype and then feeling like you're not good enough and can't do it at all. But for kind of the motivation that got me into it, it was just kind of my passions nagging at me, and like it was kind of an idea I just couldn't put away, where I had my day job, and I was lucky enough to I worked for a hospital as a software developer in New York City during COVID, and I was lucky enough to ask to go fully remote out to Wyoming like a month before the vaccine rollout, and my boss was like, yeah, I don't know if we'll ever come back into the office. So I was like, I'm gonna head out to the mountains. And yeah, so I was able to continue working for them for a couple of years here in Wyoming, and felt really privileged, but kind of as a lot of jobs do, as our team became more prominent, things became a lot more bureaucratic, and there was a lot more project management and talking about the things you were going to do rather than actually doing them. And that started to weigh on me a lot as a person that just really loves to build and move fast. And that's how my job started. I just worked for the research branch of the hospital, and my boss would be like, hey, this researcher needs an app. Can you build it for them? So that's where I cut my teeth, kind of just building something from the ground up. And I really loved that feeling. And then, yeah, I think as I was adventuring in the Winds and the Tetons and in Yellowstone, kind of started to have this idea of something that could kind of bring together all the disparate sources and Excel spreadsheets and email chains that I was using to plan trips with friends and stuff. And yeah, it just kind of was in the back of my head. And I've never been an incredible multitasker, and I also never wanted to give up doing the adventuring. So I was like, well, having my full-time job, I could do some part-time work on this, but it's really hard because I love to kind of just fall into the coding cave and work for 6 or 7 hours at a time. I'm sure Luke can resonate with, and anybody can resonate with falling into the flow state. And yeah, so I was like, well, I need to be adventuring to build something like this. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, I just want to start saving and see if I can try to get to a point where I can do this full time. And the timing with the pitch competition and G Beta into the Kickstart grant coming back into play kind of were just a string of 6 months where I was like, okay, if I can save up and hit my savings goal by October 2024, which was when the pitch competition was. It took me a long time to get the confidence to like actually choose a firm date and be like, okay, I'm going to give my 2 weeks notice. But yeah, so it's just kind of getting past your own barriers and fears and anxieties that you set. And it took me a long time. I think I started working on the idea back in 2022. I did Silicon Couloir had a startup success little intro ideation program, and I took that. Then I ended up kind of getting intimidated. I was procrastinating the pitch deck because I just couldn't figure out my target market, and I ended up bailing. And the night before the presentation, I pitched a like uh, software automation consulting business called Bye Bye Busy Work. And so I ended up doing that for like 6 months and was like, well, maybe that can help fund ing stuff. But eventually was able to psych myself back into doing it and shooting for the pitch competition. So it's definitely been a whole journey. It's a journey every day, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
I'll just jump in. It's a hard question. It felt really natural, I guess. I'm not a serial entrepreneur, you know. I'm not a guy that starts all these businesses and then just kind of hopes one takes off. It just seemed like the biggest challenge ever that really had to take everything I've ever learned and more to get there. And there was just something about it that, you know, companies that are, have $800 million in revenue can't solve. It just draws me in because I'm like, the technology is getting there to start solving these problems that are literally centuries old. And that that's and I'm kind of a contrarian a little bit too. I would say this idea in this company was also we had a fire lit under us because people told us that we couldn't do it. And then when we started proving it just sort of being this snowball. And it was just so challenging that the problem itself is what drew me in. And if you can fall in love with the problem and the solution at the same time, why do anything else? You know?
I like his answer.
Well, I think both answers are pretty awesome, and I think it's a good story for people to hear, to understand, and um, I could tell both of you love the problem, and that's a big deal. I think that's something that people forget is they sort of fall in love with the solution and forget about the problem, and I think both of you are good examples of loving the problem. So very inspiring, I think. So thanks for sharing. Well, actually, I have a ton more questions, Brittany. If
Yeah.
you have to be careful, I'll end up taking over for questions for Zach and Luke. All right, so for Zach and Luke and really anybody else who's on this, because I think this question applies to anybody who's maybe an entrepreneur or who is trying to navigate this in Wyoming. What are some things not you can it's free range. You can choose whatever you want here and multiple things. What are some of the things that you wish you had in Wyoming that don't exist? Because we're trying to figure out how do we solve some of these gaps that exist naturally or unnaturally, and then maybe what are some gaps, and then what are some barriers that you'd like to get rid of if you were to have a magic wand?
Yeah. I appreciate the question. And I know there's a group, Startup Wyoming, that's kind of been trying to address some of those questions. And I just had a little chat with them last month. And yeah, for me, I think what's been a struggle and maybe lacking is kind of, I guess I'd call it benchmarks, or just kind of having other people who have tried to be sourcing similar sort of skill sets or talent and or service different needs. Like for me, finding marketing and lawyers and insurance and all that stuff, just kind of you want to move fast, and there's kind of the balance of, do I go through a big interview process and try to like find all these different candidates and set them against each other, and do I do some negotiating, or do I just like go with one who seems promising? And I've made some mistakes in that realm, but at the same time made some quicker progress out of that. So I think just kind of having a benchmarks of like, hey, we went through this, we were at this state, and kind of trying to save money, but find somebody that could produce some good quality work and understand the state we're at. I think that's the scary part, is like, I don't especially in Jackson, where there's a lot of high price stuff. It's like I sometimes get afraid that I'm being lumped in with kind of the bigger fish and going to get charged a lot of money, when I'm like, hey, if you could just throw me a bone right now when I'm really small, and then we can build a lasting relationship and do bigger things later. So I think just trying to figure out what is a good amount to be spending on these different things. Where should I look? Who's been through this before? And I think that's kind of what I've been asking from Startup Wyoming. I know they're trying to build a network or a list that other entrepreneurs can look through to find other businesses, startups that are similar to them, and connect them. I think that'd be great. But also, I think in addition to that, maybe trying to build a deliverable out of that, of like, hey, here's where we went for these people, and this is what sort of early deal we were able to cut, and some sort of transparency like that. I know every situation's unique, but I guess that's what I'm greedily looking for, or selfishly looking
Nice.
for.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would say trade specific networking events, kind of very, very focused, narrow networking events. Programming networking events is like what we're actually trying to host. And so finding partnerships to bring talented people in a specific place together, but in kind of an unconventional way. Some networking events might push certain trades away. It might be, too conventional. So we've been trying fun ways to bring people together that they haven't experienced before. And I think that if certain entities could partner together to try to maximize the impact of certain events, because it can be really difficult to find like programmers in Wyoming, for example. I think that having certain themes, maybe the timing around when certain things are happening as well, I think that would be incredible.
Now, okay, Luke, I'm going to throw this idea out there. This isn't a great idea, but it's something. What if you knew somebody who was like had some software that helped people like sort of like create these events in the mountains or on a stream, and then you were able to pull them. I don't know, there's something.
Hey, something. I don't know who would have
No,
something like
yeah,
that.
who could help with that?
Yeah, well, yeah, Luke and I actually connected back when he was going through the application phase for the Kickstart program. So yeah, we should reconnect. I've been watching your success from afar, and you guys have been crushing it.
We got to join in Casper. We got to meet in the middle, two corners.
Let's do it.
There you go. All right, Brittany, I'll turn it back over to you to ask Dale what's next.
Awesome. Go ahead, Dale.
How can you get the small guy, the new entrepreneur with the small business, get them introduced to the large companies to produce a product for them?
That's a great question, Dale. Um, we're working on a couple of events, and like I think Zach is the one that mentioned Startup Wyoming. They're actually a partner of ours, and so we are trying to support them in developing a couple different meet and greets and like Luke was saying, networking events and just relationship building. I think as we're all Wyomingites, we're all well aware that of course we can't all be in the same place. We're all spread across the entire state. And a majority of entrepreneurs, when they start, they have day jobs that they have to keep so that they can afford to do the entrepreneur stuff. So yeah, we're trying to work through a couple of logistical issues and stuff like that. But networking events and virtual networking events and stuff like that are definitely on the goal list for the upcoming year.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And really fast, I know a lot of this discussion has been around Kickstart, and that's really exciting, and I'm glad that it has been. But I do want to we're at 10 minutes. I do want to take a brief moment and just re-mention our SBIR match program. It is an interesting spot because federally, it's a match program that we use the federal award to match against. And right now the federal award is paused. It's in, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's in Senate, waiting, it's in the House. It's in the House. Okay. So it's in the House. It's waiting for the House to get their stuff together and voted on so it can go to Trump's desk and be re-signed. But in the meantime, just from a federal perspective, a lot of the agencies that had been utilizing the Small Business Innovation and Research Grant, they're taking matters into their own hands and they're reallocating some of their budget to create their own innovation grants outside of the SBIR program, which is fantastic. And I love to see it. And so one of our goals for this upcoming year is to expand that program as well. Right now, the legislation in the Wyoming piece of the match grant is very specific and very narrow. It looks at just phase ones and phase twos, which back in 2018, when that was written, that's all that we needed to look at. But since then, the federal program has evolved, and now there's phase threes, there's strat fives, there's tac fives, there's all these other grants that have branched off, which we as an agency are unfortunately not able to match against just because of how our stuff is worded at this point in time. And so that's one of the goals that we're going to look at in this program evaluation that's coming up is how can we adjust that program so that we can have a bigger net, so that we can support more innovation and research-based companies and help give them the capital leverage, but also the mentorship leverage that they need to get their ideas to a point where they can turn it into a commercial business and not just live in research land forever and ever and ever. And so right now, like I said, it is a little bit of a non-mention because we can't do anything without the federal program being active. But we are extremely hopeful that we will be able to expand that program to utilize these other grants that are being created and support more Wyoming businesses and research and diversification of industry. So I just wanted to drop that really fast in case anybody was interested in that.
Hey, Brittnie, real quick. I think this group that's on the line probably does have a whole lot of connections to businesses around the state. And so I might, Dale, if you're okay with it, Dale, could you tell me a little bit about the business you're in or what you might be looking for? Because we've got a whole group of people that touch a lot of businesses here, and I'd love to know if there's a way we can make a match just from this webinar.
Yeah, you bet. What I'm looking for is a mobile engraving business where I go to mechanics and shops and do their tools on site rather than having to take them to a shop to have them done where they're there for a week or two. And I want to create a database with all the tool information so that if they lose tools or if they get stolen, well, we can go have a record for the insurance companies as well. These mechanics in their toolbox, they have 40, 50, $100,000 worth of tools. And if you go buy one Snap-on wrench and your neighbor buys the same Snap-on wrench, they're identical. There's no way to tell them apart.
Wow. Okay, cool. Thank you. That's awesome.
You know, ranchers, they brand their cows, so we might as well brand their
There you go. There you go. That's a great idea. I love that. Well, let's see. We've got about 5 minutes or so left. Any final questions for our panel?
I always ask, especially people participating in a program, um, what could what could be improved? I mean, I know you won, you're moving forward, you're killing it, right? But as you went through the process of going through and being a part of this program and being a winner, what would you say how they could improve to make it better for those that are going to follow you, or even now as you are growing?
I can jump in on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would probably say, along with the feedback, maybe even getting an introduction to somebody, maybe a mentor who could help us refine that problem. Um, that would have been really useful. Maybe some connection building along with the feedback, um, just so we can help refine faster. That could have been something. I haven't seen many programs do that, so.
Like it.
Yeah, I mean that's a great suggestion. I think finding kind of the personalized mentorship. Yeah, and I mean there are a lot of great opportunities. There's another one here in Silicon Couloir. They have a Teams mentorship program, it's called, and they kind of try to place you um, with that. But yeah, I mean I think that's pretty local here. So getting connections to the rest of the state or yeah, making introductions would be really great. I was I was part of the first revamp quarter of the Kickstart program, and I'm sure it's changed a lot since then. Brittnie prepped me and was like, "This is kind of like a beta version of the program," and I was like, "I know a beta, I know bugs," so I put up with a little hiccups along the way, but it ended up working out and it was great. And I know it's become a lot more competitive since, so I feel really blessed to have gotten through at the beginning.
Zach, your perspective is slightly different. We learned a lot with your cohort of people. We're continuing to learn. And Luke, that's a fantastic um piece of feedback, actually. I'm sure you guys have noticed I'm taking notes.
Brittany, I have a quick question. Like pop it in
Yeah.
real quick. You said people can come back and get 20,000. Is that part of the three winners per quarter and they have to do a separate new pitch, or is that just a secondary thing and that's open to people at any time a year later?
As the program is set up right now, they would be reapplying with the masses to get that remaining funds, and that would be considered, right? Is the 20,000 to the because they would be quote unquote taking a spot of the final three. Um, is it going to stay that way? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. It is something that we're talking about. But as it is set up right now, yes, it would be a new application, a new video, just like you hadn't done it the first time. So,
Would having a phase zero grant preclude us from applying for this? Thanks, Kelly, for the grant. We really appreciate the support we get from you throughout our endeavor. So we are really grateful. And that has helped us a lot to write our phase one SBIR grants too. So just had a question about that.
um, so having a phase, are you meaning it would disqualify you?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
it would not. Nope. Nope. In fact, it would go towards qualifying you, in all honesty. And especially right now, right? When the SBIR stuff is paused, you got to switch gears and you got to pivot. And so, if you are in that position, please, please, please apply. If you have questions, reach out. I am more than happy to hop on a call or, shoot an email or text or whatever to help navigate whatever gaps you've got going and support you and all entrepreneurs in the state the best that we can. I may be a little partial. I think entrepreneurship is the way that we're going to become awesome as a state. And so I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure we're all as successful as possible. So
Well, with that, that's a great way to wrap it up. I agree. I think that entrepreneurship is a really key element to making sure that Wyoming has the opportunities for future generations and really is a place that people can kind of chase their dreams. And so, thanks a ton for you, Zach and Luke, for coming and talking with all of us, even sharing your feelings as engineers. I know that that's a fun thing to do. No, you did a great job. And then Brittnie, thanks for going through this with everybody. Great questions today. I appreciate everybody plugging in, and I agree. Entrepreneurship is definitely an element that we need a really strong amount of programs and fill in the gaps for folks so that we can kind of tackle the future. I really appreciate everybody's time today. Thanks for joining an open mic, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.